Hi everyone, and welcome to Human Design 101. I'm Paula, your host, qualified life trust coach and human design fanatic. I guide my clients to become their own experts by understanding and, more importantly, living their design. When I first came to human design, I was so overwhelmed by the triangles, squares, arrows, and numbers in the chart that I didn't touch it for more than a year. However, my human design experiment has been the most important transformation in my life, which is why I want to show you how you can use your design as a simple tool to heal, transform, integrate, grow, and ultimately become your own expert. No more looking for the experts outside of you. Keep listening and learning here on the podcast, reach out for private coaching, or book a chart reading with me. Let's talk Human Design 101. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Human Design 101. In today's episode, I have Sofia Mellano with me. She's going to tell you in a second herself. First of all, hi Sofia, how are you doing?
Hi, Paula. Thank you for inviting me today to this podcast. It always feels so beautiful to be around projectors.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy that you're here. Because just as context for the listeners, we don't know each other personally yet, besides the 5 minutes we've just chatted before the episode. But there were a few posts that I saw of Sofia's online at her Instagram at Human Design with Sofia. And they drew me in, and I wanted to speak to her more about it. But before we jump into this very interesting conversation, I want to ask you, Sofia, would you please introduce yourself to our listeners, let them know your design and what it is that you do in the world?
Yeah, of course. First of all, thank you for pronouncing my last name so well. Mellano. It's the right way. I appreciate that. My name is Sofia Mellano. I am the builder and the designer of human design with Sofia. I'm a 2-4 reflector, right angle cross of the 4 ways. And I've been in this amazing human design journey for the last 7 years, recognizing, understanding myself, and bringing this method together with my coaching, supporting hundreds of women, trainings, and all different ways to, help everyone to reconnect with themselves deeply, really understand who they are, honor themselves, honor the people they love. And at the moment, I also just became a birth doula. So I feel like my path is kind of like pivoting, transitioning to something else. I still don't know what it is exactly, but it's always such a pleasure to be speaking about this amazing system and having a conversation about it.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, after all, you are the cross of the 4 ways, and I have a lot of 4 ways in my life, and all of them are into human design. And this cross is quite mysterious. For the people listening who don't know what we're talking about, the incarnation cross is like the overall life theme, and the cross of the 4 ways is 4 ways in your life, right? You have 4 big areas that shift and pivot around certain time markers. And so I'm not surprised to hear from you that you're like, okay, it's totally shifting now. It's like a deep, deep change. But I'm glad that you've decided to come and speak about human design nevertheless. I'm going to give the listeners a little bit of an idea about what drew me to you. And there were really 2 things I saw online. One of them I loved so much that I shared about the podcast, which was your post about generators, you need to stop following your excitement. And you went into the detail of what's the difference between a sacral yes and a trauma response, a nervous system activation that is just adrenaline fueled, and that our mind latches on with the idea of, oh my God, I found the thing that changes my life, versus the subtle feeling in your belly that
Mm.
feels grounded and calm and so boring that you might ignore it. And let's dive right into that. I would love to hear from you. How did this insight come about? Where and how did you connect the nervous system and human design in your journey?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And honestly, thank you so much for bringing this topic. I believe nowadays, after studying so much about the nervous system, experiencing it for the last 2 years, it's really what makes your reality, honestly, your nervous system. Like, we can work in these different modalities, we can understand human design so well, can do all this somatic work, mental work. But honestly, the nervous system is really what is going to guide you always to have the healthy, peaceful reality you want to have. And for me, I started to dive very deep into it around 2.5 years ago when my life went upside down from one day to another. I felt like I was really going through this universe, initiating me into the darkest pockets of my life. I was living in a strong survival fear. I started to work with plant medicine. It was like a really, yeah, I can see your breath right now because it's really how we felt in that moment. I felt that, yeah, I was just really diving into a very dark time. And I realized that I was incredibly dysregulated and I didn't even know about it. I didn't even know that I was so dysregulated for so long that I've been working and I've been doing so much stuff from dysregulation and it becomes something so natural. Like 90% of us are living in a dysregulated nervous system and we don't even know about it. And we think it's normal. We think all these things are normal, right? So it's starting to really recognize how the nervous system works. And if you never heard about it, the polyvagal theory is really what is going to change your life. But this is where this has been my starting point from that moment onwards, where anything I do, I first check on my nervous system. How am I doing? Where am I? Am I in a freeze response? I'm in a fight or flight response. How is my dorsal? How is my vagus nerve? How am I feeling? Because I know that this is going to determine my reality for anything I do. So when I started to regulate my nervous system, I should not go so deep into it because we could be talking about the polyvagal theory for hours. And yeah, it's fascinating and super interesting, but we're trying to keep this short and sweet. I started to understand that, just as I said before, there's so many decisions and so many actions and reactions we do from this regulation that we don't even know. For example, when we find something, some person, a man or a woman, super attractive, and we have this that what we call the butterflies in the stomach, and we get all this like exhilarated and excited, and that, like we can feel the sort of like the effervescent energy, like boiling all the way up. And we think that's normal. We've been taught that that's the way that we understand, or that's the way that we realize we're in love with someone or we like someone. And that's actually wrong. That's our nervous system talking to us and saying, like, that's dangerous. That's not where safety lives, right? So regulation or regulating our nervous system is what shows us what is actually safe in our body to not repeat any pattern that is toxic or unhealthy for us. And also that brings the attachment styles, right? Like if I'm always feeling attracted to a man that is regulating my nervous system, there's some anxious attachment over there too that is keeping me in the loop And it's making me feel more dysregulated and more dysregulated, more dysregulated, which ultimately turns to be a burnout, right? So when I started to learn more about this, and I kind of like, I started to bring it together with human design. And this is when I created a beautiful program for projectors, that it was projectors and the nervous system. I ran in this about 2 years ago with my friend that he is an absolute master of the nervous system. And while I was talking to him, he's a projector, we were trying to recognize the different type of dysregulation, for example, for a projector. It's like, oh, definitely they tend to be more in the freeze response, right? Like that's the way that the nervous system kind of like balances back, because it's this sense of like not being seen, not being recognized, just doing so much and not feeling the validation, right? And that's all part of the freeze response.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went deeper and I said, okay, so what about generators and manifesting generators? And I remember this, the same topic of the butterflies in the stomach, right? The excitement. And I started to see so many posts of so many human design professional coaches, readers, whatever you want to call it, about you need to follow the excitement generators. Just like if it's not a full body yes, like full excitement, and your body doesn't feel this exhilarating and turn on, it's a no. And I thought, oh my God, that's the nervous system dysregulation. That's the nervous system saying like, this is not the way, this is dangerous, this is unsafe. Um, So I get a little bit fed up, and I know that part of my design also is to trigger people and to create these conversations that definitely bring some provocation.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, no, I have to teach generators that there's a different way. There's a way that you can listen to their sacral and it feels peaceful. It feels safe. It feels clear. It feels like I can tap into my nervous system, my body, my responses, my whole emotions, because it's not just the solar plexus emotions here. This is the whole body speaking. It's telling me, yes, this feels great, but it feels also safe. And I'm not replying to this yes or no from a place of fight or flight, right? It just feels good. So the difference for me, it can be very subtle if you're a person who hasn't tapped into their body a lot, or hasn't taken even 5 minutes a day to take a deep breath and see, how is my body feeling? Where is the tension? Where does my body feel like it wants to run away? Where does my mind feel that I need to be doing something? Where's the anxiety coming from? Or if I'm feeling good. I'm feeling peaceful. I'm feeling clear. I feel like my body's regulated. And from there, the yes or no, it feels incredibly good. It feels incredibly regulated. And it still is like oh yes, I want to do that. That feels great. It's like an expansion. So I started to explain generators and manifesting generators that you either feel like an expansion or like a contraction. You either feel like your body wants to expand towards that and it feels safe to move towards that direction, or you feel like, oh, there's a contraction, there's something in my sacral, if you're a woman, in my womb, that is just like, doesn't feel good, right? That's a yes or no. Yeah, it doesn't have to be this accelerating feeling that is totally dysregulating and dysregulated. Um, and it's potentially taking you to make decisions that are unsafe and dangerous.
Mm. Thank you so much for breaking that down and explaining your process of getting there to us. I think it's so helpful for not only generators who are listening, because it is based on the polyvagal theory, right? So it's something that we all experience to some extent, whether we have sacral definition or not. You can kind of use this concept. And if we go back to the physical attraction, if I think about seeing a man, I can totally go into what you just described and use that right away and be like, does my body expand or does it contract? And if I think about the butterflies, do you like, ooh, oh, it's like this feeling, this rush of adrenaline. It is a contraction. It isn't, my body doesn't say, wow, I can relax and be with that person and I can look them in the eyes and just enjoy their presence. No, it's something like, it's a mixture of, oh my God, what's happening here? I kind of, and this might be projectory, I kind of want your attention, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel safe. And it's like, it's such a nervous system cocktail of, yeah, of something that doesn't really feel like safety. Now, but I can imagine that people who are listening are like, but that feels exciting. Am I meant to date someone who doesn't feel exciting then? What's your take on this?
Should I date someone that it's not exciting? That's the question.
Yes. What do you think? Or if someone asked, imagine I was your client and I've asked you this after you explained this theory, what would you say?
Yeah. It's a sensitive topic because to me, to be in a healthy relationship, it requires a level of self-mastery and understanding, for example, what our attachment styles are and why do we feel attracted to certain kind of people. In my case, men, right? And it's like a self-inquiry where you ask yourself, oh, all these men that I've been with or that I fell in love with, that I had some sort of a relationship, they all have the same pattern. And that makes me attracted to them. And that makes me to potentially fall into this anxious avoidant attachment style where I'm 100% avoidant and I just want to run away. But there's something about that attraction that it keeps me in the loop. And there's a truth. There is a universal truth where we feel attracted to something that is a familiar hell, that an unfamiliar heaven. We feel attracted to that because maybe my grandfather or my father was like that, or maybe I saw my parents having that type of relationship, and I do not know anything better because I haven't done that self-inquiry yet, right? And there's something very interesting that when we start doing that healing and understand that it's also 50% our responsibility, what is happening, it's just not only the men, that I'm feeling attracted to this pattern, is that we start meeting new people or we start meeting new men and we don't feel as excited. I'm quoting here, right? It's like, yeah, but there's just like not that spark, right? And it's like, yeah, there's no toxic spark. There's no dysregulation, right? And we feel that, okay, no, that's not attractive. That's not the person that we want to be dating. So when that happens, especially with the women that I know, um, I ask them to be open to the possibility that is their nervous system saying, oh, I'm safe in this connection. This actually feels good, right? And again, because it's so subtle, your body knows. Your body knows when that person still not the right person. Still like, yeah, but I don't like it. I remember I was talking to a very good friend and she's been dating again after having a very toxic relationship, and she's really working on her nervous system and dating men that, again, she doesn't go into this dysregulated state. But she told me, but I really don't feel attracted to him. I just know. And it's like, yeah, that's right. That's correct. That's your spleen, right? That's your intuition telling you, yeah, it's not the person. But we need to train ourselves. Like when we go to the gym, we train the muscles. We don't expect the first day just have huge biceps, right? We go and train over and over again. The more we train ourselves going to dates with men that are safe, deeply safe, we start training our nervous system that, oh, it's okay to feel this way. And I know that I will meet the man of my life, of the person that I don't only feel safe, but I also feel attracted.
Yes, I loved what you said there. And especially I want to underline what you said about the self-trust. And I think this is maybe where human design and the nervous system work really intersects, because what are we doing if we're regulating our nervous system? And I want to go into more detail of what that means, because I know that people are listening. And even though not human design, but nervous system has been such a buzzword in the last years, and for a good reason, some people are
Mm,
still like, what do you mean? What do you mean regulating your system? So we're going to speak about that in a moment. But
mm,
when we're doing that, when we're doing whatever we're doing to regulate, we're starting to establish a healthy relationship within ourselves. And we're building self-trust, right? We're like, okay, I'm dysregulated. I notice. I regulate.
mhm,
This is effectively what we've been missing when we were little children and we were dysregulated in our attachment styles. So we're re-parenting ourselves. We're building this secure and healthy connection to ourselves. And with
mm,
this feeling on the inside, it's like, oh yeah, whatever happens, whether I go up or down or freeze or run, I can come back to center. Um, with this sense of trust, I feel like we can easier make decisions of, I actually know already. Like my mind
mm,
maybe hasn't figured out whether I like this guy or I don't like this guy yet, or whether I like this city or don't like this city yet, or whether I want to enroll for this program or that, or whatever it is that you're trying to decide. The mind might not know yet, but you know. And
mhm,
the more you allow yourself to trust that, and also be wrong, because sometimes we make wrong decisions and that's okay as well. They're not wrong, but I think
mhm,
we're meant to make them to be there for ourselves, to experience that it's cool, it's wonderful and okay to do something that isn't maybe what we think would have been the best thing. So now, let me ask you, for the people who are sitting and itching to know, what does nervous system regulation mean? And I would love for you to give us some examples from your personal
mm,
practice, if you like.
of course. Yeah. Thank you for highlighting this, not only the self trust, but the opportunity to make mistakes and to be okay with that. Um, Sometimes we have this pressure, especially with human design, especially with the inner authority, the decision making tool that we have to be doing everything right,
Mm.
right? Because we have to be able to listen to our body and what is it, Sophia? What is it? How am I making this decision? How do I know that this is right? And it's what you said, is giving us the luxury to make mistakes because we know how to regulate in case we don't make the right decision, in case we just like mess it up, in case we again fall into this regulation. I think that's the wave, that's the dance. I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
And yes, how do I feel that I'm dysregulated? Examples. Okay, so first of all, I feel that what is important for anyone to know, if they have the tendency to fall into what we call it more like the freeze or full on response, or into the fight or flight response. And this is natural. The nervous system has a tendency to go to one side and to the other side because it's incredibly smart. It's protecting you, and it's the highest intelligence that you have. We've been having forever, right? So when I heard that first, I felt like, oh my God, my nervous system is just protecting me. It's just so intelligent that it knows what to do in any situation to make me feel safe. So because we are animals also, our nervous system tends to go into this freeze or flight or fight response, just to simplify it for everyone. Because we naturally, as animals, we naturally fall into situations that are dangerous for us, right? So for example, if we're walking on the forest and we see a bear, we most probably are gonna either run, right, flight, or it might be so scary, and we might already know that there's no chance that I cannot fight it. I cannot fight against this bear. I just gonna freeze, right? And when we freeze, we make ourselves like little balls when we just don't feel anything, right? We're like, okay, I know I'm gonna die, and I just don't want to feel it. I just don't want to feel that, right? And if you recognize that, you might be feeling, oh, yes, I'm definitely a person that when I'm starting to fight with my partner, having to have an argument with my partner, when things get too complicated, when I'm not making as much money as I wanted this month with my business, when my mother says something that it really triggers me and it really triggers me from something from my childhood, I make myself like a little ball and I go into a corner and start binging into Netflix and I don't leave my room for 2 days. Right? So if this is like a natural reaction for you, that's for me. I fall into the freeze response as well. This is what we do when things get complicated and challenging and scary and quote unquote dangerous because the nervous system doesn't know the difference between your mother saying something that is really triggering some part of your childhood and a bear. Literally, it doesn't really know much of the difference. It just will give you the opportunity to fall into a reaction or into a state in your nervous system for you to feel safe, right? So usually for people that have the tendency to go into freeze response, negative thoughts also arise, like there's no way out. Life is I just feel defeated.
It's never going to end is one of my favorites. It's never
going
to be like this.
It's right. It's never going to change, right? Like I'm going to be here forever. That this state is permanent. The state where I am is permanent. Life is hard. Life is difficult. And physically, you start dissociating, right? You start dissociating and it feels like you actually don't feel anything. Yeah, your body starts not feeling anymore, right? Your body starts just like, whatever. I could be just drinking a margarita or sleeping for 10 hours and it will make no difference. It will make no difference because the state that I am right now is about no feeling. Not feeling happy, not feeling sad. It's a disassociation, right? And it can look like you're looking to the wall or to the ceiling for hours. You are numbing, watching Netflix for the entire day. You forget to eat or drink water. It doesn't matter, right? You're just like, whatever, just gonna stay here in this state. And the opposite end of the spectrum will be the fight or flight response, which is the total opposite. It's activation. It's overstimulation. You are understimulated, right? You go into freeze response, or you're overstimulated. You just want to run away, or you just want to scream to that person. You get just very angry, and your your body instead of feeling lack of tension, like you're in a freeze response, you're with lack of tension, you feel very tense, right? Like you're about to fight a bear or you're about to run away. You cannot just be relaxed. It makes total sense, right? You have a rush of adrenaline, you have a rush in your blood, and you can feel it. If you're these people, if you're a person that falls into this type of dysregulation, you're someone who, whenever something feels challenging or difficult, you start to having, for example, an argument with someone, you just get very upset. You fire up. You start yelling at that person. You just go, go, go. You just run away. You take your stuff and you make yourself out. Right? You just don't want to see that. And it's very interesting state because most of our lives, and actually the society and the society that we live in, they are telling us that that's the right way of doing things. That's the right way of working, for example. So we live completely with adrenaline. We drink a lot of coffee. We go to the gym for hours and then we take a shower. We do it fast. We take a coffee. We just drive on the highway. It's like a lot of traffic. So we yell to everyone. We listen to music that is very loud. We go to the office. We walk very fast from one side to another. Then we have lunch. We have lunch very fast. And then we're prepared to boom, 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 boom. We drink more coffee because we need a rush of adrenaline. Because actually, if you're in a flight or fight response, you can be super productive. And you have the energy and you have the capacity in a way to be doing that.
Just not forever.
Just not forever. And yeah, I feel like now that just bringing back the generator and manifesting generator, I see that most of their burnout is longer than a projector, manifestor, or reflector. I feel like we don't do it for a week. We can't keep that pace. But a generator, manifesting generator, they keep going for years and years. The cycle is there, right? Is consistent for them, and then the burnout comes maybe 20 or 30 years later. And then it's just like the level of the dysregulation is so big that it takes some time to regulate. And if you're in this mode, or if you tend to be dysregulated in this side of the spectrum, it might be very challenging for you to do the opposite, to be seated, to meditate, to take a breath, to sit for some time with your tea, not doing anything. You have a tendency that I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. There's no time. There's no time. There's no time. I want to do so much, right? Those are the thoughts that are coming to you, or I am just going to do it my way, whatever. Just going to finish it this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it actually might be very challenging for you to relax and rest because your system is so fired. And if you're a woman, your hormones are totally fired, like are fried, right? Like your hormones are in the circadian cycle, like a man. So again, just allowing yourself to be, for example, in a menstrual phase or a luteal phase where you need to rest and relax, it might be a nightmare. And it might be very challenging because your nervous system and your body has this tendency to be constantly doing, stressing, and living through adrenaline.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you're so right. It's I think this is a very sensitive topic because it is so highly adaptive. It works so well in the society that we live in. So people are scared when they come to this. And I don't think the listeners of this podcast, I don't think they will be in a state where they are reluctant to see that they have to do changes if they are in this area. But for the global population, people are like, why would I change anything? Then I wouldn't be able to do my high-paying job anymore. And what am I, a loser? So they keep it up. They keep it up until life
Mm-hmm.
forces them to do anything different. But I loved what you shared already about, okay, what is it that you can do when you're dysregulated? You can breathe, you can sit, you can do nothing, stare holes in the wall, meditate, hum, dance, move, anything that
Mm.
gets you back into your body. Um, do you see that there are different strategies that work better to bring it back to human design for type? And
Absolutely.
and is I'm just thinking, okay, projectors go into freeze and fawn. That makes sense. If I think about myself, freeze and fawn definitely used to be my go-to. This like inner feeling of, oh, everything is just moving inwards, and there's this fake plastered smile on my face because I feel in danger and I don't feel like I can show my emotions. Um, and then if we go onto the flip side, manifestors are probably more likely to go into fight or flight.
Mm.
If we're looking at the not self theme of anger, you already mentioned that you feel more drawn to fawn and freeze. That's your regular. Where do you see generators and manifesting generators?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like generators and manifesting generators, they tend to go to the fight or flight response because it's natural for them to be doing and to be using their energy and their battery and their sacral force. And there is so much pressure of be doing more and being more productive and having to do everything, right? That's usually the challenge of the generator to actually say no to people and actually to say no to projects and ideas that, yeah, they fall into this cycle of like doing more and more and having more energy and just fighting for it and rushing to get it and rushing also to do more of that,
Mm-hmm.
and drinking coffee. And it's very interesting because you mentioned something about, yeah, like the 99% of the population is living in that spectrum. And usually the people that we are very interested about human design, we have a little bit less of those patterns, let's say, but not maybe so we're not maybe so tapped into the matrix of the way of doing it. But to be honest, I've been in the coaching industry for 7 years. I know so many coaches. All of my friends are coaches. All of my friends are entrepreneurs that have their own business. And most of them, including myself, I was operating from a flight and fight response because you have deadlines, you have clients, you have to record videos, and you have calls. And there's a moment that you're like, I just need a coffee. I just need coffee. I just need to go and work out. I just need to go and, just start to get into that rhythm and that cycle to be able to produce and to able to have the successful business that I want to be having. And generators and manifesting generators are no exception.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that it's because it's natural for them. And so the tendency to fall into the state is much more comfortable than the state of like not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I found that my generators friends, like even taking a nap for 2 hours and maybe watching a movie in the afternoon is like, wait, I can't do that. That's like, I need to be doing something. I need to be moving, right? And yeah, so that's my takeaway.
Thank you for sharing. If I actually think about my generator friends, not all of them are like that. And I notice it with, I've got a few in mind that, oh, actually, no, I was going to say they are less heavily defined, meaning they've got less
Mm.
centers defined, but it's actually not true. I think about my mum, for example. And she's a great generator in the sense that she's very in touch with a healthy, bubbly sacral. She takes a nap every day. But also she's got a lot of life experience. She's lived a little longer on this planet and had some time to figure these things out. I want to speak about something that I very much resonated with when I saw it on, I think it was a podcast that you were speaking about. Quote unquote quitting human design because you were annoyed at the labels that people use and how people use human design to make excuses for themselves. And I resonate with that so much. I get really annoyed when people say, "Oh, this is just my channel of judgment speaking," or "This is just because I am an emotional generator," or "This is just because blah, 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 blah." And it's frustrating because I don't think it's how we were meant to use human design. So I'd love to hear from you. How do you use human design in an empowering way?
Yeah, thank you for bringing this topic. Oh my gosh, it was a moment that I was, getting very fed up with a lot of it. It's very interesting because like all the experiences, they all come together for us to realize something about some deeper wisdom. And somehow I was attracting so many people coming to my DMs telling me like their life was terrible because, and I'm going to start naming, because I'm a projector, because I am an emotional generator, because I am a sacral manifesting generator, because I am a splenic manifestor. Like everyone, every single person with every possible design felt like their life was true because of the design. And I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm a reflector. I am a reflector, and I am not publicly complaining about my design, and no one knows about my design, not even myself. So, it's very interesting how we can start using these systems, human design, astrology, gene keys, you name it. All these systems that are meant to be helping us to become better people for ourselves and for humanity, they become like a tool for us to fall victims of it and feel that, well, I can't, my life is a mess because this is my design, so there's nothing I can do about it. Or I even heard this like, well, I'm never gonna be a good partner, a good boyfriend, a good girlfriend because, I am an emotional projector. Like, wait, what? No, that was never the point. That was never the point with human design. And when I met human design 8 years ago, for me, it was the breaking point of like full empowerment and to say, now I can make decisions that are completely aligned with who I am. I don't want to feel bad anymore. It actually helped me to had a 7 year relationship with a man that it was totally toxic. I could have said like, oh, well, I'm a reflector, so I'm going to stay in this relationship for the rest of my life. But instead, I understood that it was a tool to empower myself to make decisions for me and to honor other people around me, right? So every time that, um, every time you look at your design and you only try to see the fail, the challenges, everything that it makes your design so difficult, guess what? You will find it. You will find everything that is wrong with your design if that's what you want to find. Or you can say, well, those are challenges that are thresholds for me, that I meant to be going through it in order to grow, in order to be better. And let's see everything that is great about my design. Let's see what I'm here for. I'm a reflector. I'm not here to, as I used to be, a yoga teacher every day of my life, even if that's what I thought I wanted to be. But what is my gift? What I meant to be doing, right? And not only that, like, oh, you are a projector. Okay. And when our designs come together, we create some magic here. How can I honor you as a projector? How can you honor me as a reflector? What can we be doing that is the best for everyone?
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if
Yeah.
that answers.
Thank you for sharing. And I, yeah,
Mm,
I ditto that. And whenever I get into a phase of using my design as an excuse, I put it down. When I get too
mm,
upset with not receiving invitations or feeling like I can't connect with my spleen, I'm like, okay, we're just going to put this aside because from this state that I'm in, there won't be any gold to find here. And then I put it down until it comes back into my life automatically. And I had a conversation with my mum about this a while ago where she reflected back to me. She said, when you first found out that you're a projector, you said you wished that you weren't one. Do you really want to be working
mm,
with a system that makes you feel this way? And I came to the conclusion that yes and no. And so
mhm,
I don't work with it when I feel this way. And I come back to it when I'm easily able to see it
mm,
through a positive lens. And it's not like we always have to see everything with a positive mindset. Sometimes we might struggle with that. But like you said, if you can't, then we focus on something else and then we come back to it when it's easier this way. Yeah.
100%. That's my biggest motto with human design after all these years. Take what it serves you. And if it doesn't serve you, because I keep doing workshops, especially here where I live, and people sometimes just come out of curiosity and they tell me, like, I should totally live in human design. And I'm like, that's fine. This is not a religion, it's not a church.
Mm.
If it's not serving you, it's not serving you. And they usually really serves them. And usually at the end of the workshop, they're like, oh my God, yeah, that's so accurate. Right? Because we have so highly conditioned it, right? We had this so highly conditioned. And before even knowing that I was a reflector, if someone asked me, I 100% was a generator. 100% was a generator, right? And that's the beauty about human design. And I felt like I tried to get divorced with this system. I feel like so many times I feel like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. And, in the hardest moments of my life, I just always come back to it. And it's like, yeah, yeah, it's accurate. It's real. It's true. I feel it in my body and I can work with it. But Paula, to be honest, like, yes, I have many projectors telling me that they wish they were generators. And I have so many generators tell me that they wish they were reflectors. And I have so many manifesting generators telling me that they wish they were just manifestors. Like everyone, it's so incredible. All of us want to be something different because we have no idea the challenges that the other types really are going through. I mean, we can know it logically and mentally because we see it, but we really are not in their shoes.
Mm.
And some people will love to be protectors because, oh my God, they're so wise and like, they bring so much peace and they can listen to you. And I'm like, have you ever been a projector? You know how challenging that is for a projector? So, it's part of the human experience, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you said it very well. My last question for you is, after you've been experimenting for 7 years, right? What do you think is one of the main experiences or shifts in your life that came through human design? Doesn't need to be the biggest, it feels like pressure, but just something that comes up for you when I ask.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Well, the biggest shift was when when I got my first reading, I was, long story short, I was on my way back to Hawaii where, I was moving to with my partner, that actually my husband. We were together for 7 years. Um, I started dating him when I was only 20. I was very young, so you can only imagine, sudden return. I totally changed from being a party city girl to a yogi that almost becomes a Buddhist nun, right? I just had all this awakening in my life, but I was still in this relationship and we were not okay together. For the last years, we were not okay together. We were not happy. And I couldn't figure out a way to understand that that wasn't, that wasn't good and healthy for me until I heard about my reading, my design. You know, uh, Someone shared that with me, and I remember it's like bawling my eyes out, just crying the Honolulu airport, on my way to Maui. I'm feeling that, oh my God, there's nothing wrong with me. This is who I am. This is what I am. This is how I make decisions. So I decided to take my 29-day cycle and I went back to my partner. I said, like, if I'm breaking up with him, it's not going to be from one day to another, like I used to do before. I'm going to take my moon cycle. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to meditate on it. And fair enough, day 29, I told him that I wanted to be out, and that was the end of the relationship. So, I always tell this story because it was the day one of meeting human design. It was the day one of me connecting with it. That was a full shift in my life where I started to also recognize that I couldn't work as much. I was working, I was burning out. I needed to do something different with my life. Then COVID hits, like everything was kind of like perfect for me to started to lean more into what I started to do in my business. And I feel that another amazing shift that I had 2 years ago when I had this initiation, my life went upside down. My business just crashed for months. I was going into this full awakening and initiation. Is that I started my 7 year cycle, right? So if you don't know this about human design, they usually tell you that it takes 7 years to fully decondition yourself, to have a new regeneration of your cells. And I didn't believe much of that until this year when I started to recognize that my identity was shifting again. And hello, I'm a reflector, so I know that that will always happen. But this was so intense and helped me to understand a deeper layer of what a reflector is and how to understand us. And that's when I opened the reflector portal last year. And it was a beautiful 2 months journey with 12 reflectors where we were actually really, journeying with the moon and also understanding ourselves in a deeper level. And it was like, oh, it's my 7 year cycle. It's my 7 year cycle. And now I can fully grasp deeper what a reflector really is. And I can understand and I can grasp better this idea of like, okay, my identity is fully shifting and I'm in this rumble state right now. And that's okay. But it's really human design what is reminding me of that. So yeah, I feel those were the two biggest events in this journey.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And then but not least, let our listeners know where they can find you if they want to connect with you. What's the best space to get in touch?
Of course. Yeah, so you can find me on my Instagram, Human Design with Sofia. I've been lately a little bit an off cycle with it, but I'm still working with my clients. I'm still doing readings and one-on-one sessions. And if Instagram doesn't work, you can email me to humandesignwithsofia@gmail.com. And I'll also be present in that platform as well.
Amazing. Yes, you guys need to get some of that amazing reflector energy. It's been so nice to sit with you today, Sofia. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully up until next time. Thank you so much for being here today and listening along to Human Design 101 with me, your host, Paula Fehrmann. I trust that you received exactly what you needed from today's episode, and I love how the universe matched us today. If you enjoy listening and learning with me, please leave a review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that more people can unlock their true selves and ultimately become who they were meant to be using human design. Until next time, lots of love and bye-bye.